Hello, welcome to the third day of the conference here. My name is Philip Miller, and I'm talking today about the gaming console, Orange Pi Neo, which is based on Linux. So let's go back to history lane. The first gaming console, which is not by Nintendo, was the Aoyai. So it came out 2013. And it had Android on it. So it was the first console where people had the opportunity to work and do their own games, but it failed. So they had only 2,000 units sold and only 1,250 games supported. In 2020, someone said, hey, why not put Linux on it? Because it's a dead hardware. So yeah, the next was by Valve, the Steam machines. So what they had, also Linux. They had around 500,000 sold, but the games were less, only 1,000. So Valve had to rethink. And a couple years later, the Steam Deck came out. So 2021, they had a lot of games, still 1,000 in the beginning, but the form factor was different. And so far, they sold around 3 million units. After that, 2023, the Steam Deck OLED came out. And what changed? Well, the first batch was sold out, so it was a hit for them. And the games are now at 13,981 games, which you can play on this mobile device. So we come along in 2024 with the Orange Pi Neo. We are intending to do the initial batch of 50K, and then on demand we produce more. And we have around 14,000 games which you can play on this device. So how we port Linux to it? Yeah, there is always the question, which came first? The hen, the egg, or the chicken? So to do that, we have to port Linux to the device, of course. Then if the device is not produced yet, we need another device to replace that. So I was looking to something, and you need developers which are doing the same goals. So what was on the market? On the electronic shelves, there was this Asus ROG Ally. So when I was back in Munich, Germany, I went to the nearest media market and bought that device to start porting my operating system, which is Manjaro. So what was the hardware of this device? So it's similar to my device. It has the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme, the same graphics card, a similar screen, 16 GB RAM, 512 watt hard drive, and Dolby Atmos. So there were a lot of problems which will come with this hardware design. Then we have Windows 11, my Asus, and a lot of drivers for Windows. So what didn't work? Part of the controllers works, but not every button. So this was a problem. Then graphic works, that's great. Screen works. What didn't work was sound. So you couldn't play any games with sound. So this was a challenge. We had to support the gyro. We had to support also the sound card and some buttons, of course. And Windows. If you have Windows, you have updates. So if you start the Asus Ally, first was you greeted with a Windows setup. You have to create an online account. You have to do updates. And then you have updates of the drivers and updates of the launcher. So you stand there, you want to play a game, and it took you about 1.5 hours to start the game because you only have to download the game. So yeah. And if you look here at two different models, what's the difference? The UI. Every manufacturer changes the UI, so you don't have the same user interface. And how we change that? Well, we put Linux on it. So we have Manjaro, We have KD Plasma as the UI for the desktop. We have some parts of Chimero OS, which is a gaming operating system, and a bunch of other things, including Steam, ButterFS, and other launchers. And with this, we can start and have the same UI as we want to have it. So the first, what we have to do, testing on the device. Is your operating system working? The second is give the vendor the feedback, what they have to change, and also do testing and feedback with the vendor, so everything is working. What worked? So on my device worked part of the controllers, which is good. Graphics works, screen worked, audio worked. So we had one more point which is actually working than on the Asus Ally. And the touchpads worked as well. So we only had to work on suspend, the 4 buttons which were not working by the default drivers, and the gyro. So how we did that? We did first the basic functionality, so the operating system worked. Then we fixed the issues in firmware and hardware. So it was a lot of devices coming to my desk and I have to change, hey, this button didn't work. You have to change that in the firmware. And the last thing was we have to polish the experience. So this is what we're doing now. What is important? Well, the power management, of course, you want to have a long battery life. The cooling is also something which you have to work on. RGB, some people like RGB to have some fancy coloring around. The controller, there are a lot of input devices. X input is the standard, which everybody wants to use, so we aim for that. The gyro was also something which people like to use, so you can turn the device upside down and the game will react, or you have a flight simulator, you can do some turns. And what also is clear, the build quality. You want to have a good device, so all the buttons should be working and so on. And you have to stay curious to adopt changes. So this is mainly what you do for porting the device. So are there any questions regarding the device itself? I have here the device. You want to test it? You want to test it? Okay. Yeah. So no questions regarding how to port?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. I have a question for you that are these software available for any other Linux distribution or just Manjaro?
So the device will start shipping with Manjaro, but we have all the drivers there, so you can port your Linux system to it if you want to. But if you get it from the manufacturer, it has Manjaro, but we open source everything, so you can port to different operating systems as well. So it's like more or less the drivers are there, and we did the heavy work, so others can adopt, and maybe that will bring a lot of people to use it.
Do we have root access to that? Lock it?
Yes, you have root access. Yeah, you can fully change everything. Yeah.
What made you choose AMD platform rather than another platform, say ARM, as an example?
AMD was already established, so you can simply port everything the Steam OS is based on AMD hardware, and therefore it's easy to port. It's just a new hardware, faster CPU, and therefore the work is less. If you look for Intel, there is the MSI Claw, and they have a little hard work because the graphics card is new. So if you have a game, it doesn't start. You have to emulate it to say, hey, this is an AMD graphics card, then it starts. So there are a lot of things, and we want to have the first product easy. So that's why we are using AMD. Any more questions? Five minutes. Huh? Well, we try to do the sales hopefully in May or June, depending on the manufacturing. So first we have 300 units for reviewers and testing out the build quality. And after that, we will have mass production to 50K. And if that works great, we will ramp it up to about 50 more or 200 more, depending on the demand. So it's like, if people want to buy it, then we say to the factory, do more devices. So the factory can produce about 30 units in a week. But if we need more, then we can employ more in the factory to make that faster. You have a question? No.
So did you do like a licensing agreement together with Steam, Valve?
Well, I'm working with Valve. Valve wants to open up the SteamOS for other vendors. So I'm in talk with them. And the first thing what we initiated was the legal issues. So if you have the first user setup on Steam Deck, you have the easy way to set it up. So if you start my device, it is set up in 2 minutes instead of the 120 minutes in Windows. So you simply boot it up, log in your Wi-Fi, your credentials, and then you're in and can enjoy the game. And for that, we have to clarify the legal issues with Valve, which we are currently talking, but also they want to open up the devices for others. So the SteamOS might have in future also different devices, yeah. Okay, then that was all from my side. And you can look around. I'm here in the convention and you can try out the device.